The Northern Hemisphere recorded its hottest summer and the hottest June, the hottest July, and now the hottest August. The frequent breach of global records just show that we are sitting on a time bomb of human-induced disaster that has now started to throw sparks around. Take a look at this detailed report.
Heat waves grip West Asia. Wildfires ravaging the European forests. The mercury surging to record high levels. African countries suffering through their worst drought in decades. Ocean temperatures going off the charts. This summer has seen it all. The Earth signaled its distress, and now the numbers say it all. Mercury is rising and our planet is nearing a tipping point. The EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service highlights that the nearly 3 months of June to August this year were the warmest since records began in 1940. The Northern Hemisphere experienced its hottest summers. The average temperature recorded this year was 16.77 degrees Celsius. That's 0.66 degrees Celsius above the 1990 to 2020 average. Going beyond balance and need, humans continue to increase their footprint across the Earth. And day by day, the situation is getting out of hand. The UN chief says the dog days of summer are not just barking, but biting. Well, rightly so.
It's time to break our addiction to fossil fuels and invest in a just and equitable transition. We need to see credible plans to exit coal by 2030 for OECD countries and by 2040 for the rest of the world.
The planet experienced its hottest June, hottest July, and now the hottest August. Summers have been getting hotter since the 1940s. July and August were both 1.5 degrees warmer than pre-industrial levels. A scary threshold that world leaders have been trying to adhere to, or at least saying they want to adhere to, as the Paris Agreement requires them to. With just 4 months remaining in this year, 2023 has been the warmest year on record. Warnings say the next year is likely to be even hotter. Extreme weather events will become the norm. This until we collectively take a stance. The clock is ticking. Time for climate action is now, and the upcoming G20 summit is one such opportunity, where world leaders will have one more chance to set aside differences and unite for a common cause, to join hands to save our home. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Now for more on this, Mr. Chandrabhushan, who is the CEO of iForest, joins us live from New Delhi. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. As I'm sure you heard in the report as well. Right, sir. Now, as I'm sure you heard in the report as well, global average temperature, that's up by 0.66 degrees Celsius than compared to the 1990s to the 2020 average. What would you say are some of the factors that have led to this?
Well, the single most important factor is greenhouse gas emissions. We have not managed to reduce emissions despite all the international agreements and meetings. Global emissions continues to increase. In fact, this year may be the highest emission year in the history of humanity. So despite all the efforts that we are making, we are failing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and therefore global warming is increasing. So this is not a surprise. You know, the record that was broken this year will be broken again next year and next to next year. So it is the beginning of the kind of impact that we are likely to see if we do not bend the curve, if we do not start reducing emissions.
Right, absolutely, sir. What do you think should be done to rein in these extremely frequent weather events and rising temperatures?
Well, I think we will have to have multiple strategy to deal with climate crisis. The first strategy is that we need to start producing energy from non-fossil fuel sources. Still, 3/4 of our energy comes from coal, oil, and gas. And it doesn't seem that the effort that the world and the different countries are making is actually reducing that proportion. So we have to really work hard to have a phase-out date for fossil fuels. Coal, oil, and gas, we will have to phase it out. It's just a question of when. But that phase-out has to be done to avoid the worst consequences of climate crisis.
Right,
On the
sir.
other hand, we have to start adapting to climate crisis. We have to make sure that the impact is reduced. We have to make sure that the lives are safe. So adaptation is another area where we will have to work.
Right, sir. As you know, of course, India, of course, is preparing for the G20 summit. Are you expecting any sort of consensus or a plan of action with regards to climate action?
Well, I do believe that India's G20 presidency will increase the ambition on renewable energy. India has been championing solar and wind and battery storage. And therefore, I do expect that G20 will support India in enhancing the world's ambition on renewable energy. That is one. But this G20 comes just months before the big climate meeting, which is going to happen in Dubai. And whatever decision we take here in Delhi will have huge repercussions in terms of decisions in Dubai. So I am hopeful. Let's see what comes out on Sunday evening.
Right. Well, sir, thank you so much for joining us on WION's Climate Tracker with your insights on this.
Thank you very much.